How's it going, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Masters Fantasy Football League's Dynasty Spotlight Series. We're doing another versus show for you today, so if you haven't checked out any of our old ones, what we do is we take two college prospects coming out and we kind of break down their game category by category, and then at the end we kind of fight it out for who we think's the best and go from there. But before we hop in, just want to remind you guys, if you're not in any Dynasty leagues, we highly enjoy you join. Ton of fun year-round fantasy football. Tons of trading, off-season rookie drafts. The fun never ends. We got orphan teams available right now. We got dynasty startups going. So now's the time to join, be a part of the family. You won't regret it, that's for sure.
Agree.
So the Doc's going to kick off today's show for us. We're breaking down Rashod Bateman versus Rondale Moore, two of the top receivers in this year's draft, but probably not the two top dogs, but maybe 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 in a lot of rankings.
Yeah. Widely, I would say, considered top 5 guys. There's obviously some differences here and there, but again, I think we kind of already hit on the top 2 guys, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase. So go check out that episode. But yeah, like Alex said, we'll talk about Rondell Moore and Rashod Bateman. So an interesting kind of contrast because these guys are very different in what they do. So we'll start kind of like we have in the past shows where we'll just kind of break down skills that, any receiver would have and decide who wins that battle there. We'll start with one, and I feel like a lot of these are obvious because these guys have, their strengths are kind of the other guy's weaknesses. So we'll start with speed, and obviously this is a pretty easy one. It's going to go to Rondell Moore. I don't really know how much what else there is that needs to be said. Not to say Rashad Bateman's slow by any means, but, Rondell Moore, that's probably, among other things, is the big piece of his game where that explosiveness, that speed. So, to me, this is a no-brainer. Rondell Moore wins the speed category.
Yeah, 100% agree. Rondell Moore is freaky fast, just next-level speed. It is worth noting, kind of went viral on Twitter, that at the Exos Training Center, Rashad Bateman did run, they were saying it was like a 4.37. Obviously, like at a combine, that'd probably be more like a 4.45 just because combine time's a little slower, it's a little more precise. But, that's pretty good speed for a guy at Rashad Bateman's size.
Exciting.
So I feel good about both speed, but Rondale Moore is a different kind of special speed. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But, yeah, that rumor, too, very, very exciting for anyone that was high on Bateman like myself because that's really the one area where you're not sure how he's going to, separate at the next level. That's, what a lot of people would ask. But for him to have that speed is awesome. So we'll move on to the next one, which would be route running. What do you think, Al?
So very different route runners, kind of, because, again, we talked about how fast and quick Rondale Moore is. But honestly, Rashad Bateman runs routes really well, kind of like a Michael Thomas does. I saw that comp a lot out there.
Yeah.
So I think they're both good at it. Kind of, I guess, depends on what kind of routes we're talking about.
Right.
I'm going to call it a wash. I don't even like picking on this one.
Yeah, I kind of agree just because I feel like they're good in different ways, like you mentioned. I maybe even a slight edge to Rashad Bateman just with the fact that he's bigger, bigger body, not quite as fast. He's really got to rely on his route running and to get that separation at the collegiate level especially. And I think we saw that a lot. So, I might give him the edge, but either way, I think both of them, this is an area where they're both pretty good, just in different ways. So we'll move on to the next one, and I think this is obvious for Rashad Bateman. We'll call it size/strength here.
Yeah.
And I think this one pretty easily goes to Rashad Bateman. Although I will say another thing that went viral was that picture of Rondell Moore
squatting like 600 pounds.
Well, just the picture of him running where he just looks absolutely jacked.
Right.
So I don't know what kind of weight he's put on, and again, I don't know how that really affects his speed either. But it's good to see those pictures just because he's kind of working on that, working to get a bigger body, a bigger frame for the NFL, getting prepared for the next level. But again, this is kind of Rashad Bateman's strength here. Is he's physical. Obviously, he's not massive like some of these guys. He's not super tall or anything, but bigger physical receiver when compared to Rondell Moore. So I think this one easily goes to Rashad.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, it's kind of hard to argue there because, Rashad's got a great frame to him, pretty strong as well. But, like you mentioned, Rondell Moore, and this was one of the things early on I really did like about him. People call him small because he is short, but, he's thick, he's strong, he can take some hits at the NFL level. So it's not like he's some tiny, where Tavon Austin was tiny coming out.
Right. Yeah.
Rondell Moore is just a little short, but I mean, he's pretty strong and he'll be just fine in the NFL.
Absolutely. I love that. So we'll move on to the next one, which would be hands. And this is a kind of a tough one, too, so I'm just going to throw that to Alec as well.
Yes, I mean, I think they both have good hands, which obviously we like to hear. I'm going to say Rashad Bateman's hands are probably a little better, but I don't think Rondell Moore has bad hands at all. But yeah, I'll give the edge to Bateman because kind of like the route running case,
Right.
Bateman really had to win with hands and good routes at the college level, where
Right.
Rondell Moore just had to win by being flat out faster than everyone else. So,
Yeah.
so I'll give Bateman the edge, but not a knock on Rondell.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat on this one as well. I think Rashad's ability to go up and just snag the ball out of the air. He had a lot of tough contested catches. And again, not to say Rondell Moore doesn't have good hands, because I think he does. It's just, we've seen a little more from from Rashad Bateman in this department, and just going up and making really good tough catches and showing off the hands a little bit. And so we'll move on to the next category, which will be run after the catch, a little bit of rack. And this is where it can kind of get interesting too, even though I think it probably leans towards Rondell. But I mean, Rashad Bateman had some moments in college where he could take something, just a shorter pass, and make something happen with it. Again, showing off that he's not just some big plotter. I mean, he has good speed for a guy of his size, and he kind of showed that off at times in college. But again,
yeah,
I mean, it's hard to go against Rondell Moore because, again, a short crosser or a slant, something like that, Rondell can take it and make it a touchdown anytime he touches the ball. And I think for that reason, you got to put him above Rashad right now.
Yeah, I completely agree, and kind of comp it to pro players right now. Rashad Bateman, I think, has got a little bit of A.J. Brown in his game, just that mean after the catch, can break some tackles and, take a slant 70 yards. But, I mean, we know Rondell Moore's got a little more like Tyreek Hill, and let's be honest, we're all saying Tyreek Hill's a lot better after the catch than an A.J. Brown. But
Right.
But both exciting guys, and guys, we're excited about it at the next level.
Absolutely. Let's see. And then well, I kind of put 50-50 ball into that strength and size category, so we'll just kind of skip that.
Slight win for Bateman.
Yeah. And then, agility would be kind of the last one, which we touch on a little bit here. What do you think, Al?
I'm going to go Rondell Moore, but again, kind of like a lot of these things, not necessarily a knock on Bateman, but I'll go Moore for that one.
Right. I would say, Bateman's got good agility, again, for a guy that's his size, his frame. But yeah, I get that's kind of more one of Rondell Moore's strengths, his ability to use that top-notch speed and athleticism and those moves to make big plays happen. So there you go. That's just breaking them down skill-wise. Pretty even, actually.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like
different, but even.
Yeah, every time there's a strength for one of these guys, that's where the other guy is good, but obviously not at the same level in that department. So it's an interesting battle between these two. And, I mean, in terms of going forward, I'm not even really sure who I want, Al.
I know. So usually we kind of decide before the show who we're taking. This time we actually didn't. We were just going to let it ride.
Yeah. And you know what? I think I'm going to sit here. I'm going to take Rashad Bateman.
I like it.
He's been a guy that 2 years ago, when Minnesota really had that first good season under P.J. Fleck, Rashad Bateman, just every week you watch Minnesota, Rashad Bateman was just jumping off the screen. I mean, he was absolutely electric. He was dominating games. He put Minnesota in that position where they had their best season in who knows how long. And, he's the prototypical receiver. There's always going to be that part of me that likes the prototypical receiver. He's got good size, good speed, great hands. He can really do it all. I mean, he's never going to just, pull away, burn someone down the sidelines like a Rondell Moore might. But he's got good enough speed to make that happen occasionally or make big plays happen. He's got great hands, physical to go up and get the ball, win those one-on-one matchups, which is especially important in the NFL, and especially when there's concerns about his ability to get open. Again, he's kind of eradicated those concerns with a fast 40 time at the Exos that you mentioned there. But I mean, his ability to get open will remain a question mark, but I think he's got the route running, the speed, and of course the size too, to continue doing what he's doing at the next level. I think he's going to be a big touchdown machine. Wherever he ends up, he's going to be a red zone target. And I think he's going to be a guy that gets on the field pretty quickly too. I know we don't really see that a ton with some of these rookie receivers. It might take some time. But I think he's a guy that they can trust to at least get on the field. Maybe he gets you some touchdowns. But overall, I mean, I just love his game. You mentioned he can be kind of physical, mean like an A.J. Brown, who, again, he was another guy I liked coming out of college for similar reasons. So I think, Rashod Bateman, total package, maybe just a notch below on athleticism compared to the elite guys. But, again, we've seen him dominate in college football. I don't really expect it to be too different at the next level. I think he's going to shine. And, he seems like a good character guy, too, which is always a plus. We've mentioned that before. This is Dynasty. You got to be picking good character guys for the most part because, you could be getting screwed on a first-round pick. It's these things you have to think about that you wouldn't in a redraft league. Yeah. But, I mean, I love Rashod Bateman. I think he's got every skill set, and I think he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. And, I like that opportunity to at least start off with touchdowns in the red zone and then just kind of build from there. And hopefully he goes to a good system that'll actually use him the right way because this dude's going to be a special talent at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I love that right there. It's hard to argue with it, and so I'm not even really going to argue with him. I'm kind of just going to take it in a little bit different direction. So on Rashod Bateman, I think he's by far the safer prospect out of these two. Yeah. I think in some ways you could make the case he's the safest or second safest receiver to Jamar Chase in this class. I think there's less concerns about Bateman than there even is about a Devontae Smith in some ways. And, the last 2 years, I felt like A.J. Brown was the safest receiver of his class. I felt like Justin Jefferson was the safest receiver of that class. But, we do fall in love with upside. And, I think Rondale Moore might have the highest upside out of these two guys. The odds of hitting that upside is probably small. But we see guys like – I know he's completely different than this guy that I'm about to say. But, the A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf year, I thought A.J. Brown was way safer. But DK had that chance to be special. Now that AJ is not special either, but there's just that it factor, and kind of what like in this class, I see Bateman as like that super safe. He's going to be a really solid NFL player, but Rondale Moore could be that special Tyreek Hill type of player.
Exactly,
he could be that guy 3 years from now when we're saying there's only one Rondale Moore. There's a bunch of guys, but there's only one special talent like Rondale Moore. So. If you're picking in your rookie draft, I think I'd tell you to go the safer route and just get your Rashod Bateman, get that steady, reliable guy. But Rondale Moore could be very special, and for that reason, don't be afraid to hit the button on Rondale Moore either.
Yeah.
I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I like that point. It's like you mentioned, the guys like Rondell and DK, they're just it's natural talent. Mm-hmm. They've got things that these guys don't have. Like Rondell's got that natural speed, DK the size and speed. I mean, guys like A.J. Brown or Rashod Bateman, it's not like they aren't fast, but like to have that natural gift that Rondale Moore or DK Metcalf have, that's where, if they can figure it out, so to speak, and we saw it a little bit from DK this year. I mean, the sky's the limit for those guys if they figure it out and they have that gift that's just a little bit above the level that some of these other guys have. So, I mean, I'm with you on that one, Al. I as much as I love Bateman too, I mean, I also see a lot of upside in Rondale Moore, and I think if things work out the way they could work out, if everything goes to plan, he's going to be a real problem in this league.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, anything else you want to add?
So one more thing.
Go ahead.
So we've done these versus shows, so we've hit on 4 of the receivers so far in these versus shows. Jalen Waddle, I think, is kind of your consensus other guy in rounding out the top 5.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really important to realize all 5 of these guys are really special and really good receivers. Like, the last 2 years have had some good receivers coming out, but these 5 are really good. So, these mid to late first round picks where you can get any one of these 5.
Yeah.
I mean, those are valuable. So don't be afraid to go trade for the 1.6 and end up with a Bateman or a Moore.
Right, and I think it's important too to remember that it's a pretty deep class at receiver too. Could even be similar to last year where you saw guys like Brandon Ayuk or Chase Claypool in the second round, Michael Pittman another one, T. Higgins too even. I think this is a class where you could see guys like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, some other guys
Elijah
that we
Moore
talked about.
even.
Yeah. These are guys that you could see in the second round that could be legit, options for your fantasy team. So again, another deep receiver class and maybe even a little bit better at the top, like Alec mentioned. So it's exciting times for sure.
Yeah, and as always, don't be afraid to, leave in the comments who you like out of these two, but even more importantly, give us a versus show for our next one. Two guys you want to see us, evaluate their game comparatively against each other, and then fight it out to see who's better.
Yeah, and again, that could be guys coming up in the draft, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pitts Fryermuth show.
Yeah.
That's an option. And again, we've mentioned too DK versus AJ Brown. Any pro comps that you want us to do, a little head-to-head action, throw those in the comments as well. And then in the meantime too, sign up for a dynasty draft because it's the best way to play fantasy football. MastersFantasyFootballLeagues.com, the home of the best dynasty football leagues out there. And like I've said every week, Alec and I have been discussing trades almost every day. So it's that time of year. If you got that itch, sign up for a league and get your fix.
That's all. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right, we'll see you next time. Boom. Bam.